In sports, opinions are constant, and as a fan, you've got the privilege to throw out bold predictions without many consequences. However, when players, coaches, or commentators throw one, they have the risk of creating one of those quotes that age horribly wrong. In today's video, we're checking out some tennis quotes and predictions that didn't age very well. So I was watching this match between Federer and Djokovic, their encounter at the 2009 US Open, back when Djokovic was still number 3 in the world and losing most of his big matches against Federer and Nadal. The commentator made an observation that couldn't be further from the truth.
You got it.
This is Djokovic.
They call it out.
Challenging the call on the right near side.
Yeah, he got it.
Djokovic.
See, this is when I think he's at his very best. When he just kind of relaxes and plays the game. Doesn't get too wrapped up into mishits and bad calls. He had this
Funny to see that years later, with Djokovic using every single bit of anger as fuel and being at his most dangerous when he is angry. Sometimes he seems to just find someone in the crowd, some detail of the match that really pisses him off, and that's enough for him to turn into an absolute machine. You probably know how one-sided was the Federer-Roddick rivalry. The Swiss maestro prevented Roddick from getting so many big titles, and their head-to-head speaks by itself. Well, in 2003, in their first match at a big stage, in the Wimbledon semi-finals, John McEnroe, who was commentating the match, had a quote which is quite funny to hear 20 years later.
A Roddick-like forehand.
Describing that Federer forehand as a Roddick-like one that's quite hilarious, with Federer having arguably the greatest forehand of all time, while Roddick's doesn't even come close to that debate. 2020 was definitely a unique year in the ATP Tour. Many months without play, Wimbledon cancelled, and the French Open played in completely different conditions to the normal ones in summer. Different conditions, but same finalists, as Djokovic and Nadal clashed in another French Open final. And aside from his default in the US Open, Djokovic was undefeated in that season. Nadal was playing better and better as the tournament went on, but with much colder conditions and a way heavier ball, Rafa wasn't considered as favored as he normally would in a French Open final. In fact, Djokovic's coach, Goran Ivanisevic, pre-final made a quite shocking comment, stating that Nadal had no chance in those conditions against Djokovic. Well, what happened next would be history.
2020, Rafael Nadal makes it 20.
The most one-sided Grand Slam final between the two, and watching the match, the conditions actually suited Nadal much better, with Djokovic struggling so much to get the ball past Nadal, but Nadal hitting winners all over the place. Nadal was asked about Ivanisevic's comments, and here is what he said.
Pero Ivanisevic, el entrenador de
Te
Djokovic.
juro que no lo vi. Me lo dijeron después de la final.
Lo has visto después, ¿no?
Sí, después sí que lo vi.
¿Qué?
Bueno, al final sí, es cierto que fue una predicción un pelín, diría que un poco arrogante, pero sí que es verdad que...
Despite giving us over 20 years of magical tennis, the day Federer announced his retirement shocked the entire tennis world. But when you look back on clips over the years, it's incredible how much more he achieved to what anyone could expect. For example, here's Roger at the 2006 US Open. At this point, he had 8 Grand Slam titles, and commentators mention the high probability of Federer winning more than 1 Grand Slam from that point.
Earlier, John McEnroe, and just to remind fans of how brilliant Borg was to his 25th birthday, he had 59 titles, 19 more than Federer, and more slams, 10. At such a young age.
And he'd only win one more, though. You get the feeling that Roger Federer's going to win more than just one more major.
Yeah, don't you?
If you would have stated that Federer was going to reach 20 Grand Slams, you would have definitely been seen as crazy. Not only was the record of Pete Sampras seen as almost unbreakable, but athletes, and more specifically tennis players, when they reached 30 years old, it was almost seen as the final stages of their career. And with Federer, even at only 27 years old, a lot of people in the tennis world wanted to retire him. After that loss against Nadal in the 2009 Australian Open, an absolute heartbreaker that was also led by struggles after, there were many rumors that Federer's retirement was close. Reality couldn't be much further, but it's funny to see clips of those years where Federer was already seen as an old guy in the tour.
That'll do it. Well, he's getting a little more emotional in his old age, Federer at 27. Well, what a moment for him.
6-4, 6-0, 6-2.
Oh, how good. Standing ovation, please.
That's Grandpa?
That's Grandpa. That is pretty impressive.
He had no right to win that point.
Saying that, people were definitely underestimating Federer's longevity. The Swiss maestro would win Grand Slams almost 10 years later and play at the highest level until 38 years old. And not a wild prediction by any means, but as I mentioned, Sampras's record was seen as unbreakable, but when Federer broke it and won a couple of more slams, now it was his that people thought couldn't be broken. Very few would have predicted that both Djokovic and Nadal finished in front of Roger.
Is he your favourite player, Roger Federer? He's the best I've ever seen. Or is it still Rafa, your favourite? Federer's latest effort to win another major and get back to number one, that's just too good. His record it's unbeatable in my opinion.
So you don't think anyone will get 17?
I really don't, let alone his record in making consecutive Grand Slam semi-finals and just his overall consistency.
32, I think.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a man that wasn't part of that Grand Slam race, despite being one of the hottest prospects in the early 2000s, we could say that at the same level as Federer back in the day, was the American Andy Roddick. The hype was real, but the results were too. And his first Grand Slam wouldn't take long to come.
Game, set, match, Roddick. 3 sets to love.
Grand Slam number 1. Absolutely insane that it ended up staying that way. You can't even blame the commentator. When someone wins their first Grand Slam at 21 years old, there are definitely reasons to believe that it won't be his last. But one big problem was enough for Roddick to not win his second Grand Slam. So we've seen bad takes, we've seen some misfortunate quotes, but what can you say about this clip right here?
Let's talk about the guy that he's taken on today, Novak Djokovic, and what do we know about him and what can you expect from him?
Not a lot. This kid is the youngest kid in the draw. He just turned 18 last week. He's tall and he's skinny and he's very, very hungry. In fact, when you look at him, it looks like he's hungry literally and figuratively. He has not had a lot of championship experience. But
funnily enough, that hungry kid not only would become the best, but also the fittest tennis player on the planet. Funny how life goes. So that was it for today's video. Some tennis quotes that aged very badly. If you enjoyed the video, it's of massive help if you hit the like button, and if you would like to enjoy more original tennis content of this style, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and that way you will know when I upload future videos like this. All of this said, I hope you have a wonderful day and that I can see you in my next video. Peace!